like me, you love to find new ways to use products in your collection. Today, I want to take a particular die set and show you 7 different ways to use it. Now, I am using this new Slimline card die set from Stampin' Up, but there's a very good chance you can use these same techniques with dies you already have in your collection. Maybe along the way you'll fall in love with it and want to add it to your collection, but if not, I'm sure you can use some of these same techniques with dies you already have. Now stick around to the end because I have a few more ideas on top of my 7 that I didn't get to try out, but I'm going to suggest that you can try out as well. So let's get started. If you are new to making Slimline cards, this is a card that measures 3.5 by 8.5 when it is folded, so it fits into a standard business size envelope. So this die set that I'm using today, it is called Slimline, Slim Card Dies, and they're really fun. I really like how we have these intricate dies, and then we also have these border dies. So there are a lot of ways to use these that I'm excited to share with you here in just a moment. Now, if you would like more information on making Slimline cards, I'm going to link you to a video right here where I explain the dimensions, how to make an envelope, and several more things. So you can take a look at that if you are interested. So let's go ahead and get started with my 7 different ways to use this die set. And number 1 is what you are looking at right here. It is using that die cut from this particular die right here exactly as intended, okay? I used the piece that was cut out. I got rid of the extra pieces that had been in between and made this really cute birthday card. I will mention we have a particular die set, stamp set, that is designed for Slimline cards, slim sayings. You can use these with regular cards, of course, but I love how large they are and how we have some long and skinny ones. They just help fill up the space on some of these Slimline cards really well. So several of these cards you're going to be seeing, I use that slim sayings stamp set. Okay, so that's idea 1. You use these large dies exactly as intended. Number 2, use the negative pieces that were removed from some of these spaces to do the opposite. And here is an example. What I did on this one, I took my die cut, I put a little bit of multi-purpose glue on the back. I love this glue. I let it dry. Once it was dry, I used my hands and just run my hands over it a little bit to make it a little bit less tacky. And then I laid this piece on my card and I took all of the extra die cuts, all of the extra pieces, and I glued them into place in between. When I was done, I lifted this piece up and this is what we have left. Isn't that neat? I love the idea of using kind of the trash, the negative pieces that you wouldn't normally use, and really you can get 2 cards out of each die cut because you can use this piece as intended, and then you can do something like this. So that's idea number 2, use your negative pieces. Idea number 3, create your own patterns with those negative pieces. So instead of this, which can be a little bit tedious, this may not be for all crafters, what you can do is to just use some of those pieces and parts and make your own design. So here is one that I embossed this card, and this is not a Slimline card. So here's an idea for how you can use these pieces on regular cards. And I used those negative pieces and created my own pattern. So you can create a lot of different things that way. Idea number 4 is to use one of these border dies, and the one I'm showing you right here was actually this particular border die, to cut the edge of your card, okay? So let me bring this in. Here you can see down here on the bottom, I have used that die for the card itself and then also for the mat that lays on top. Now I do want to give you a trick here. I have actually made this card in 2 separate pieces, and the reason is if you want to run this die through over here on this side with your card opened up, this is actually too wide to lay on the platform of the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So I made this in 2 separate pieces. This piece measures 4 inches by 8.5, and then I scored it 1/2 inch. and now I can use this flap to attach to my piece over here, which was 3.5 by 8.5, and then I use that die along the edge. Okay, so I love this. I love to have that beautiful edge on the card, and I really like this one, especially with the stitching. So that's idea number 4. Idea number 5 is to use this border die, which you could do this with either one, but my sample shows this one, to cut both sides of your card. And I really think this is unique. So what I did, I had my card itself that measured, it was 7 by 8.5, and then I folded it in half, so we have 3.5 by 8.5. And I ran this through my machine 2 times with this die, and each time I let the edge hang off just a little bit. I'll show you this from the bottom. So I let this piece over here hang off just a little bit, and the reason for that is I didn't want to completely remove my fold over here on this side. Okay, you need to make sure you still have part of that area where it folds to hold together. And on this one, I used this flower stamp set, which I think is just beautiful. I love these watercolor type flowers. So that's idea number 5. We have 2 more I want to show you, and then 3 more that I will suggest that maybe you can play around with. So idea number 6 is to use your die cut as a mask, and then use them with some of your other tools, such as blending brushes or spritzers. So what I did here, looks like I have a stray piece. So I used my die cut. This gray piece right here is the die cut. So I cut that out. I put some of that glue on the back, let it dry fully. Make sure I remove some of that tackiness with my hands, or you can even press that against your shirt or your pants to pick up just a little bit of lint. Then I laid it here on my plain white card, and that glue held it in place. I used my blending brushes and a few different colors of blue ink to blend over that. Isn't that pretty? I just love the look of the blending brushes. I love playing around with them. So once I was done with that, I removed that die cut. You can see the effect that is left here on this card, and I was able to finish it with my greeting and some gems. And then I was actually able to use that same piece on this card, so you get double use out of this as well. So that's a really fun technique. Now you can do the same thing with spritzers. You can put this piece on a card, use some spritzers, add some alcohol or water and some ink, spritz over it, and then remove that, and you get a similar look to this, but usually a little bit more irregular with the spritzing instead of the blending. So that's idea number 6. And number 7 is actually to extend these dies and use them for scrapbook pages. So I love that they're long and narrow. Sometimes our die sets are just for cards, and it's hard to figure out how to make scrapbook page borders with them. Now with this, you can actually do this 2 ways. I'm going to tell you the way I did, which is a little bit easier, but there is a second way as well. So I used this die and I cut it out 2 different times. Then I layered those pieces on top of each other. I figured out how long I wanted them to be, where I wanted them to match up, and I glued them together in that place. And then I just snipped the excess off. So I had part of one of these pieces left over that I removed from the back. So that was very easy to make it line up, especially with this pattern on this paper, to make it line up and look like it was one piece to start with. Now you can actually run this through part way, remove it from your machine, line it back up farther down and run it through the rest of the way and end up with all one piece. But I think the way I did it with the 2 separate pieces worked out great and is probably a little bit easier. So those are the 7 ways that I have used these slim card dies on different projects. Let me give you 3 more ideas for how to use them. And so the first one is to use these dies, whether it's this one or this one, and to layer strips of color behind. So if you end up with strips of designer paper or cardstock, this would be a really fun way to use those up, is to lay some of those strips down before you put this die cut on top, and I think you'd get a really fun look that way. Second idea to try out is to use, my thought is this one, but you could do this with both, is to weave strips of paper between these strips that are on the die cut. I think you could create a really fun look that way. And the third idea is to weave not paper, but ribbon in between. And I think that would be really neat as well. So thanks so much for watching along. I hope this helps you to appreciate this particular die set, but I hope it helps give you some ideas for ways you can use dies in your collection. So I hope you have a wonderful day. You can find links to all the products I used in the video description below. I hope you have a blessed day, and I hope to see you again next time when I'll be here helping you to hand make with love.